2026 has been yet another violent year for Nigeria's internal security. Across multiple states, particularly in the northwest and north central regions, armed bandit groups have continually attacked villages, highways, high schools, and places of worship. The pattern has been a familiar one. Heavily armed men would go into communities, kill resisting residents, and even abduct civilians and take them into the forest corridors before security forces arrive. Despite repeated government assurances that the insecurity is being contained, the frequency and scale of these abductions, kidnappings, and mass killings suggests otherwise. And at the moment, Nigerian leaders seem to be unbothered. It's almost as if they are completely oblivious to everything that has been going on in the country, from the killings, the abductions, the highway killings, going into people's houses and their places of work, abducting pupils and students from their schools. These people are not even concerned. They're concerned about campaigning and being re-elected to office for another term. Now let's take a look at some of the most significant banditry and kidnapping incidents that has been happening from the beginning of 2026 up until now. In January of 2026, there was a mass church abduction in Kaduna, in Kurmin Wali Kajuru local government area in Kaduna State. According to church leaders and right monitors, approximately 163 worshippers were abducted during these attacks. Victims include men, women, and children attending services. These attackers reportedly moved victims into nearby forest areas, commonly used as bandit hideouts. The incident immediately raised new concerns about the vulnerability of religious gatherings in rural communities. In February 2026, there was an expansion in bandit controlled zones. By February of 2026, security analysts began warning that several rural communities in Zamfara, Katsina, Kaduna, Sokoto, and Niger states were effectively operating under bandit taxation systems. Residents report being forced to pay levies for access to farms, roads, and even personal safety. This reflects a growing trend in which criminal groups are no longer conducting isolated raids, they are exercising territorial control. By March of 2026, security data shows worsening crisis. Security monitoring firms EON's intelligence reported that in March 2026 alone, Nigeria recorded 176 major security incidents, 383 deaths, and 229 kidnapping cases. Banditry and abduction accounted for a significant share of these incidents, especially in northern Nigeria. The data suggests that kidnapping remains one of the country's fastest growing insecurity threats in 2026. On the 2nd of April 2026, armed bandits attacked Kufa Danya and Kufan Magaji communities in Bukuyum local government area, Zamfara state. Local reports indicate that more than 150 residents were abducted, most of them being women and children. Several homes were burned during the attack. Residents said security response was delayed, allowing attackers to escape with the victims. On 10th of April, bandits launched a coordinated attacks on communities in Sokoto state. Witnesses described attackers arriving on motorcycles and opening fire before forcing residents into surrounding bush. The attack highlighted the continued mobility and organization of the armed groups operating in the northwest. In late April, residents in parts of River State raised alarm over what they described as increasing incursions by armed kidnapping groups. Community leaders reported repeated abductions and killings around forest settlements. Now, the significance of this development is geographical. It suggests that the kidnapping economy is expanding beyond its traditional northern strongholds. On 14th of April, the Nigerian police announced the arrest of 33 suspects linked to the abduction of 38 church members in Eruku, Kwara State. The police said the suspects were connected to a larger organized kidnapping network involved in ransom collection and armed robbery. The arrest showed that many kidnapping operations are not spontaneous crimes, but structured criminal enterprises. By May of 2026, highway kidnapping returns. Reports of attack and kidnapping along Kaduna-Abuja highway began increasing again. Motorists described renewed fear along one of Nigeria's most important transport routes. This road has historically been a major kidnapping hotspot, and its renewed insecurity raised concerns about deteriorating federal control. In May 2026, school attacks continued. Two separate school-related incidents were reported. In Oyo State, armed men attacked schools and abducted pupils, and in Borno State, militants attacked a secondary school in Askira, Uba, leaving students missing. Now, this is not an isolated school attacks or school incident. These incidents actually revived memories of earlier school kidnapping crises and reinforced concerns about educational institutions and their safety. By the end of the first quarter of 2026, local monitoring groups estimated that more than 1,000 Nigerians had been kidnapped nationwide. Now, it is very important to know that this number likely excludes unreported cases, particularly in remote communities where families negotiate privately with these abductors. Kidnapping has become both a security problem and an economic system, one funded by ransom. The central question is no longer whether Nigeria has a kidnapping problem or not, because it clearly does. Now, the question should be whether the current government strategy is capable of stopping it. Because while government officials continue to announce successful operations and military gains, communities across the country continue to lose family members, homes, basic confidence in the state's ability to actually protect them. And for many Nigerians, that may be the most serious crisis of all. Throughout the year, Nigeria's security agencies have consistently announced progress in the fight against armed bandit groups. Military spokespersons have repeatedly reported successful operations in key hotspots, including Zamfara, Sokoto, Kaduna, Katsina, and Niger states, often stating that dozens of gunmen and several terrorists were killed during raids and air operations. Government updates typically highlight four main achievements: destruction of bandit camps, recovery of weapons, rescue of kidnapped victims, and elimination of suspected gang leaders. These announcements are intended to demonstrate operational success and reassure the public that security agencies are making progress. However, the available evidence suggests that these tactical victories have not translated into any meaningful improvement in civilian safety. Kidnappings continue across multiple states, entire villages are being raided, families continue to receive ransom demands, and rural communities remain among the most vulnerable populations in the country. In practical terms, this means many Nigerians, particularly those living outside major cities, have not really experienced the security improvements reflected in official statements. And one of the clearest contradictions of this is the continued frequency of mass abductions. Even after multiple military offensives were announced in early 2026, large scale kidnappings still continued. In January, 163 worshippers were abducted in Kaduna State. In April, more than 150 residents were abducted in Zamfara. Also in April, multiple civilians were abducted in Sokoto State. And now in May, renewed kidnappings reported along Kaduna-Abuja Highway in Borno State, in Ogbomoso, Oyo State, where students, pupils, and teachers are being abducted, killed, and tortured by these armed bandits. These recent incidents indicate that these armed groups remain capable of planning and executing coordinated attacks despite ongoing military pressure. Now, that raises concerns about whether the current security operations are successfully disrupting the broader kidnapping infrastructure or they are only addressing isolated cells. Security analysts note that many armed groups have shown ability to adapt. When camps are targeted by airstrikes, they relocate. When commanders are killed, replacements emerge. When highways are secured, attacks shift to rural communities. This adaptability makes the conflict difficult to measure solely through body count. Killing fighters does not necessarily eliminate the entire network. It may only temporarily disrupt the operation. When authorities repeatedly announce progress but citizens continue to experience insecurity, public confidence weakens. The erosion of trust has long term consequences. It affects cooperation with law enforcement, it discourages reporting, and it deepens the perception that government messaging does not reflect public reality. The contradiction is increasingly difficult to ignore. Government says the operations are succeeding, but kidnappings continue, bandit attacks continue, communities remain exposed. This leads to a simple but important question. If security victories are real, why are the kidnappings still increasing? This is a very sensitive time in Nigeria right now with everything that is going on. With all these terrorist incidents and reports, our government seem to be unbothered to some extent because a good number of them have been coming out to campaign for re-election into office for another term. But they have refused to pay attention to the insecurity level that is rising in the nation. A very quick one before this video comes to an end. Do not think that it cannot be you. Don't think that it cannot happen to you. Don't think that it cannot be your portion because you're a Christian or because you're a Muslim or because you're wealthy or because you're comfortable or you are in a comfortable economic situation right now. Because we all know that the country is not safe at this point. Nobody at all is safe. We've been asked to stay indoors. We've been asked to not go out. We've been asked to not travel. We've taken preventive measures ourselves as citizens. But guess what? These bandits and these terrorists keep coming to our homes. They come into places of works. They come into schools, hospitals, and churches and kill people and abduct people and brutally murder people. And we have our government who are busy campaigning, who are busy running elections, who are busy doing primaries, who are busy going about sharing bags of rice, sharing sewing machines, sharing tricycles for people to vote for them for another tenure. But they are not really addressing the security issues. And we see videos of kids that are being tortured, kids that are being beaten every single day. There is literally a video circulating on the internet where a man was being beheaded, right? Mr. Michael of blessed memory. Now, if this is not a wake up call for us as a nation, for us as youth, I don't know what this is, but I just want to say that it is very important for us all to get a permanent voters card because at this point, that is the only power that we possess to shift something, to create a change that we want. Because the people that are in power right now, they have shown beyond reasonable doubt that they do not care about public safety. Do not be brainwashed. Do not be deceived. Do not trade your future for a bag of rice. Do not trade your future for a sewing machine. Do not trade your future for a tricycle. Do not trade the security of your kids, the safety of your family for little things that will probably run out in how many years or will probably get exhausted in how many years. 2 3 years down the line, most of these gifts that have been given onto you will be exhausted, if not damaged already. So it is very important for us to know that this is the time where we can fight, where we can speak up, and we need our celebrities to lend more voices to this cause. Because if you say, oh, adults are being punished for disobedience, what are 2 3 4 5 years old kids being punished for? These kids are being, videos are circulating on the internet right now where kids are being tortured, beaten, burnt. And it is a really brutal situation, very inhumane to watch, very sad and unfortunate. And we really hope that things don't get worse than it is. That will be the end of today's video. Kindly subscribe, like, leave your thoughts in the comments, and hit the notification bell so you can always be notified when I release new videos. Bye.